First of all, I'm going to show you some common things that students do when they're drawing a face. So, a lot of times, students will draw the eyes much higher than they actually are in a head. So when you divide a face up into segments, the eyes are actually halfway between the top of the head and the chin. But people don't really think about that or know that. And so the eyes might be up high. They might be really close together. Another thing that I'm going to talk about, if you draw the iris and the pupil so you can see all of the iris, it makes the eyes look like they're opened really wide. Okay, another common thing, the nose, and I'm going to show you over here on this one, the nose actually kind of looks like it's extending up, the nose bone up into the eyebrow, but some students draw a line coming straight down from the corner of the eyes for the nose. And then I see a lot of different ways of drawing noses, and you can absolutely draw noses in a variety of different ways. But the most common way to draw noses when you're not really sure how to draw a realistic nose is to just, make a little L shape. This is actually looking like kind of a little cute cartoony guy. And a typical, simple mouth, just a little curved line. So we're going to take this into something a little bit more realistic. So what I like to do when I'm drawing a face is lightly sketch out the shape of the head. And then I like to lightly draw guidelines. So this is dividing the head in half. This is going to be the eye line. And then I like to draw a midline going down the middle. So my eyes will be on either side, the nose here and the mouth here. Now if my head was turning to the side a little bit, I might draw this line curved, and that would show that the nose would be angled over this way and the mouth would be tilted depending on the angle of the head. But for this right now, I'm just going to draw straight on. If I draw light enough, any of these light little ghost lines, they won't matter so much in my final drawing because I can erase them really easily. All right, something you may or may not have known. Your head is wide enough to fit 5 eyes, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. But if one eye fits here in this space, if you measure that space, that's about half of that length of the black part of my pencil. I'm going to come over to here. I know that the next eye should start there. So that's the space that I'm going to put my eyes in. So I have those little guide marks. The the bottom of the nose is actually halfway between the eyes and the chin. So I'm kind of doing a little guideline there. And then the mouth goes approximately halfway between the bottom of the nose and the chin. So I have a little guideline there for my mouth. So I haven't actually drawn any facial features yet, but I'm guessing that you're envisioning and your brain is kind of filling in. You can sort of imagine the eyes, nose, and mouth in those spaces just with those simple lines. Okay, so now I'm going to draw like a football shape. And a half circle, and a half circle. And notice how I'm not actually showing all of the iris. If you have the eyelid kind of crop off some of the iris, it makes a more relaxed eye. And I'm going to fill in the pupil, and then I'm going to shade the iris. So you can probably notice that I left a little white space there for the reflection mark that you will notice often when you're looking at somebody's eyes how the light reflects off of the iris. And so leaving that little white space will kind of make the eye come to life a little bit and look more realistic. So now I'm going to come over to the other side, making sure that there's the same amount of space between my eyes as my eyes itself. And it actually looks like it might be a little bit wider. So I'm going to have the eye start here. Doing an arched line. Looks like a little football or a little lemon. And it's really tricky to get eyes that look somewhat symmetrical. When I started doing a lot of portraits when I was in high school, I had a lot of trouble getting one eye to look similar to the other eye. And so I ended up with a lot of pirates or people with swooping hair down over one side of their face to kind of cover over the fact that I wasn't happy with the other eye. So know that that's very common. It is a challenge to get both eyes to look similar. Okay, so you can add a little arched line above the eye for the eyelid. For eyelashes, I like to kind of do a little dot and then kind of flick up. So if you wanted to kind of have your person have some eyelashes. You don't want to do it all the way across. So I'll show you over here what that would look like. If I did eyelashes going all the way across, you really just kind of want them from the corner of the eyes to like middle point. All right, so the bottom of the nose. We've got the guideline for where that's going to go. Now, the trick that I like to do when I'm drawing realistic noses is to think about the side of the nostril as the letter C. So I'm just drawing the letter C. I'm going to erase my guideline there. And now, depending on if you are making up a face from your envisioning or if you are looking at somebody to draw them, everybody's nostrils look different. So you might see more of the nostril hole or less, but for this right now, I'm not looking at anybody in particular. I'm going to just draw a little, kind of a lying down candy cane. And then it's going to swoop into, you can imagine like a swing seat. And then I'm going to draw another lying down candy cane on the other side. And then a backward C. Those simple lines gives the impression of a more realistic nose. Now, I was talking at the beginning about how a lot of students draw the bridge of the nose coming out from the corner of the eye. It actually comes up in between the eyes and extends into the eyebrow area. So if I just do like kind of implied texture lines, little quick little lines, can give the texture of eyebrow hair. And with shading, we can kind of add more depth to this face. So that shadow, that line turns into the edge of a shadow. And instead of it being a harsh line, that shading makes it look like the bridge of the nose is coming forward. You can always erase those guidelines. Okay, so now the mouth. When I draw realistic mouths, I like to think about the top lip as looking like the letter M, but with the legs of the M pulled out to the sides. So, and the other thing, knowing that if you can draw down from the midpoint of the eye, that is typically where the corners of the mouth, just as like a little guideline. So starting there, coming up, swooping And then obviously the mouth will look different depending on if the lips are open or closed. Just kind of a curving line in the middle, and then more like a swing seat line for the bottom lip. So we've got 3 lines for the mouth. So those are just some guidelines, some things for you to practice in making facial features look more realistic, moving you from this to this. There are some things that I'm not quite pleased with this face right now, but I'm actually going to work on this a little bit more. You can see the changes that I make and other things that I add, and that might inspire you in your own artwork.